like if you're trying to replicate a sport that involves so much luck in a video game just makes it like, it's a recipe where you will never make everyone happy.
I want to get to something very interesting that I saw over the weekend. Pete, Sean, if you could throw up a tweet from Pete Blackburn on video games. It's usually what I care about. He tweeted, "I just don't think I can play NHL 25 anymore. Second straight year, I've had to quit the current game. Maybe I suck, but it doesn't feel like it. I just can't see. It's far away. Rewards the right things and only makes me want to jump out of a window." That is how most of Pete's tweets. And that's interesting to me. I want Pete to explain that, but Pete, don't just explain it to me. Explain it to our guy, Cam Halbert, a.k.a. Sleeveless Gaming. Let's bring him in. You know him from YouTube, from everywhere. Niagara Ice Dogs, the whole shebang. He is our NHL 25 guru. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing? A really eventful holidays for you guys, I saw, as your travels picked up.
Oh, yeah. Chicago was a grand old time. The game stunk, but we had a wonderful time at Wrigley and wonderful time in Chicago. Always the best. And then I came home and played NHL and wanted to kill myself. So, yeah.
Explain. I need you to start at the top. What's going on, baby boy?
Friday, I had a big free day, and I was like, hell yes, I'm going to get to play video games with all my pals. I'm going to play NHL 25. We're going to run EASHL. It's going to be such a lovely night with a nice camaraderie for the boys. Yeah. We got like 4 games in, and we're just screaming. The vibes were so bad. We were dominating teams and losing 4-1 because that game absolutely sucks and only rewards players who just cheese all over the place. It has the dumbest goals in the world. Tell me, am I a bitch? Am I a bitch for hating this game and putting myself in this position year after year? Is it a skill difference, or does this game actually still suck this much?
So when were you mad? When you got scored on and didn't win? Like, what was is that what made, like, you could play ESHL, especially if you're with the right group, and not win and have a good time, but it just wasn't happening in this instance?
We were playing. We were having a good time. Like, we were dominating games. Minutes upon minutes of offensive zone time, cycling the puck around, really, really working together like a true skilled hockey team. And then you give the puck away one time, and a guy skates down who's a max level, who's probably 13 years old, and just rips from 25 feet away along the boards and beats your goaltender who has his thumb up his ass, and we lose 3-1. That happens every game.
It's tough, man. I think that we I've come on and we've talked about this in the past, that like, the sports games specifically are very subjective, and I think the hockey video game is the most, because like, if you're trying to replicate a sport that involves so much luck in a video game just makes it like, it's a recipe where you will never make everyone happy, right? Like, there are things that need to be fixed in this game, and I think the overall, one of the things that when I talk about people that just simply hate this iteration of the game, is that it looks like they're going far more arcadey. Like, the X factors and the one-timers, you get this big green beam lights up when you get a good one-timer, and that's really the end-all be-all goal right now. But that being said, like, I just think that it's far different than what it was in the past. But I don't blame you, man. I mean, it stinks, but what do you think would make you enjoy it more?
I think that
skill issue. I love that.
This chat is just hammering me with skill issue comments, which very funny.
Wubs. Wait on 1 second. Wubs with the change of heart Yu-Gi-Oh card YouTube icon. That's an all-time play, by the way. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I know that the EA Sports has limited resources to make this game, but basically what needs to happen with NHL 25 or 26 and beyond, they need to split the game down the middle, and they need to essentially create 2 different versions of the game. They need to create the arcade version for those people who want to play like that fast-paced, like arcadey style,
all the
and
abilities.
let them have their own little like world of online where they can do all that dumb shit, and then also make a game that is like realistic and authentic and rewards actual approaches to hockey. That's what I need.
You know what's funny? I've said this a couple of times over the last few years, and one of the philosophies that changed, I think it was when the new team took over at NHL 23, was that they kind of made gameplay unified. Where what I mean by that is how the game plays in Hut is how the game plays in ESHL. The dog looking at you is hilarious to me. And it's the same as in franchise mode as well. And that sounds good because that means that when they want to make a gameplay change, it happens across the board. What was going on before was you had these like separate teams that just didn't need to interact. So the guys that would work on ESHL, they would work on ESHL, but they wouldn't work on Hut. And what ends up happening is that you kind of split your resources of gameplay developers. You know, you mentioned that it is a smaller dev team. So I thought that in philosophy that would work when they made the change to kind of streamline everything. But I think more and more that I would love to see a way where they mess with sliders enough in individual game modes. So what happens in ESHL isn't what happens in Hockey Ultimate Team and in franchise mode. One of the biggest changes that happened a couple of years ago was when they made all these changes, your CPUs would take penalties all the time. And that stopped happening, I believe, in like NHL 2021. And because you would play Hut or whatever mode and your CPU would take penalties. There's nothing more frustrating than that because you're not controlling them, right? And that was because, and what happened in NHL 23 is they made franchise mode play the exact same as Hut. So you do in Hut, and because in franchise mode, your CPU can take penalties. And that's what ended up happening. They dialed that back. And I think that they do need to find a way to make it, if you want someone to play a completely sim-based game, for anyone that played the series a lot, like NHL 22, I think is the closest to a sim-based NHL game we'll ever get. But it wasn't for everybody. And you know, it's tough in that aspect, but I'm with you. I think the bigger issue is that I don't know how they do that and separate things even more with the servers, and because you're limiting your player base even more. Right. Back when we were younger, right, you would match up, you'd play versus, and it was peer to peer. You could match anyone. And, you know, if someone had a potato modem, you were both playing on it. So you were both at the same disadvantages. Right. You can't match up with someone out west. So now those West Coast players aren't in the player pool. So when you go to search for a game, it takes 25 minutes. Right. Imagine adding in like, I'm going to go play sim base. So now you've got maybe 40% going there. Right. So and that isn't me saying that that's okay. It just, that's the reality of the situation we're in. But I'm with you, man. I think that a sim-based game, as I'm getting older, man, the losses when I lose on stream and stuff like that, I'm just like, that's all right. You know, and maybe that's just me being a loser now, or I'm older. I don't know what it is, but I just like,
maybe? No,
yeah, it's a skill issue. I'm just like, I know, I'm not as good.
I know that I shouldn't care, and I know that I shouldn't let it ruin my fucking night. But at the same time, like the older that I get, the less time I have for video games. So 100%. When I play the video game and it makes shut the fuck up, DJ. When
I'm just like talking to Penny.
I thought you were just, I thought you were saying.
I thought you were playing the world's smallest violin, like he's yapping.
No, but he's on a podcast yapping again.
I have a limited amount of free time, and I really look forward to the nights when I get to spend with like my friends and we get to play, because it doesn't happen that much anymore. So when it happens and I come away with a bad taste in my mouth, or like I had a bad time, it really rubs me the wrong way. And it would be so easy for them to make a better game. It's just, that's what it really boils down to. I like the way that the game plays generally, but some of the things that it rewards drives me crazy. Let me ask you this, like, does the game reward like newer or worse players with stupid goals?
Ooh, that's interesting. Oh, you mean like there's something coded in the background that allows that?
Like, is there like a skill-based matchmaking type of thing for goaltending? Because I feel like when I play newer or lower level players, the goaltender on our team always fucking sucks.
Man, that's been a tinfoil hat theory for forever, that there's like like in racing games, there's rubber banding where like, you know, the first place guy can't get so far ahead that you can't catch up. I would hope to God that there's not. I've never heard that there's, like ice tilt would be what it would be called. Would it surprise me? No, because we're in a world where video games are engineered like food, man. Like, do you want to go home after you've worked all day and get absolutely smoked? No, because then you're in the exact same situation you're in right now. You don't want to play the game anymore, right? But if you were to sit down after, work and for 2 hours, you beat up on a team 15-0, by like that third game, you're like, So,
but sorry, I want to cut you off. I would be totally okay if me and my buddies logged on a Friday night and we got fucking wrecked 15-0 by a team that was so much better than us.
Yes,
and
yes.
If they were good and they smoked us, I could have a good time with my buddies being like, damn, those kids were nasty. We are washed. It's what bothers me is that we play better and the game rewards stupid things.
Yeah, man, I wish that could be proven. It's like, it's so unfortunate because the way hockey is played, it's almost like if you were to design a hockey game, right, and you would have to code in luck. Like if you yourself were to make a video game, if you were trying to emulate the real sport, we can all agree that there is luck involved in hockey, probably more luck involved than any other sport, right? So when you're trying to make a ones and zeros game, luck has to be a part of it. But how do you code that in, and what does it look like? And then in a video game, who wants that? Because again, you sit down, if you set up shop for a one-timer, things wide open, you've done everything appropriately, and it doesn't go in because the game's like, nah, not on this one, you're frustrated because you're in control. And I don't know how they'll ever balance it. Because I don't know in the background. Would it surprise me if there is something that's coded in there? No, not at all. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's been in there for 10 years and they just don't even know it's there. So, it's a tough, delicate balance. I'll be honest with you, man. I think that we talked about this like a couple times ago when the game was coming out. That I just think that sports games in general, you know how they have a year-long cycle, like their yearly games. I think there's 6-month cycles, and the other 6 months after the first 6 months of release is just the hardcores that are addicted. Yeah. And addiction in a video game looks far different than addiction to other things. But I just think that's what we're at. And I think that we're getting near the end of that 6 months, of people playing the game and then the sport comes in. But it's tough because what you did,
to be fair, though,
playing with your buddies in ESHL, that's what I would recommend. If I were to tell someone, hey, you want to have some fun playing NHL, get a couple buddies, which is hard to do sometimes, especially in our 30s. And you went and you did the right thing and you still didn't have fun. And that's concerning. But I wonder if you just got a bad night. I don't know how common because it is.
Night, I'll tell you that for sure.
Yeah, and that's tough. Did you have a human control goalie or an AI goalie?
AI goalie. But
you got to get one more person.
Night, and I sent that, and a lot of the responses, and I'm not taking Twitter as gospel or whatever, but a lot of the responses were like, "Yeah, I quit 2-3 weeks ago. I quit a month ago. I can't do it anymore." So I'm absolutely not alone on an island here, but. It's, I'll probably end up playing again. Let's be fucking honest. It's just
we're addicted to hockey, dude.
Yeah, I love hockey.
You were saying that it's
exactly.
You were saying it's like the last place where you can say racist things in a headset.
Yeah. How else am I going to celebrate January 6th?
Yeah.
No.
So that's the last place you feel like you can do that? You said?
Yes, that's right.
No,
the 6-month cycle thing I think is true, but I also think there's an element of the hockey season and every other
all sports games go through this, man.
Yeah,
all of them go through it.
People watch hockey, people watch football, and they're like, "Oh, I watch it. I want to go play it on the video game." So I think that there's a natural element to that. So I wouldn't necessarily blame that entirely on the game.
We all silly like the mayor.